Now this right here is the Isuzu Mu-X. It's the long-awaited sequel to the Mu-7, the car that originally launched Isuzu in India all those years ago. Now that car, when it was launched, already felt a bit behind the competition, and with newer competition like the new Endeavour and Fortuner launched, this car couldn't have come a minute sooner. It's also based on the D-Max V-Cross, a car we really like a lot. So, suffice to say, we can't wait to see what it's all about. The Mu-X is, of course, based on the D-Max V-Cross pickup, but also on the Chevrolet Trailblazer, and its look is a mix of both. The front end is very close to that of the V-Cross with a similarly massive chrome grille, but what's new is a more aggressive contrast-colored bumper with LED daytime running lamps. And while the rear may be similar in shape to the Chevy with its blacked-out D-pillar, Isuzu's wraparound tail lamps give it a distinct look. Also really attractive are the multi-spoke 17-inch alloy wheels. Their design is really smart, and the thick 65 profile tires complement the tough look nicely under the immense wheel arches. Overall, the Mu-X has a strong SUV stance, but it is a bit unexciting to look at. Climb up into the cabin and you'll find a dashboard similar to the D-Max, but with a few differences. There's a glossy black finish for the center console and silver accents on the steering wheel, which has many more control buttons. There's even some nice cushioning on the armrests and door pads. Fit and finish is pretty tight and the design is very neat, but it doesn't feel like a sufficient step up over the D-Max, and for this price we'd have expected better. The equipment list is decent too, with leather upholstery, a powered driver's seat, keyless entry and go, a rear view camera, ISOFIX mounting points, cruise control, and even a 7-inch touchscreen. But even this doesn't feel on the same level as rivals. The touchscreen, for instance, feels really basic and doesn't feature smartphone integration. Before we get moving, let's quickly have a look into the third row of seats. And really, it's a pleasant surprise. The middle seat tumbles forward at the pull of a lever, and after a bit of a hike into the back, you'll find that space and comfort are great by most SUV third row standards. Even two adults wouldn't mind sitting here over short distances. But bear in mind that with all rows in place, boot volume isn't huge. And with that, let's hit the road. Now powering the Isuzu Mu-X is a 3-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel engine that makes about 177 horsepower and 380 Newton meters of torque. Now 380 Newton meters, that is the figure to bear in mind, because it is considerably lower than what you get from most rivals. They're all in the 400 plus range. And that's what really matters in a big SUV like this. You need torque more than outright power to get it moving at low speeds and move the load of both the vehicle and whatever it's carrying. And you notice the slight torque deficit when you really smash your foot down. What you get is a lot of noise, but not a whole lot of progress. This is also largely to do with the gearbox, a 5-speed automatic which is standard across the range. This is a car that prefers to be driven gently with a light foot, and as long as you don't ask for too much of it, it will make smooth progress. The 5-speed gearbox too, when you press down lightly, it shifts smoothly. The moment you kick down hard for an overtake, it gets a bit lost and doesn't know exactly what to do with itself. It's actually not that slow, clocking 0 to 100 kph in a reasonable 12.6 seconds. But it's the tremendous noise and strain from the engine when accelerating that makes it feel really labored. The other thing about this engine is that it's not very refined. It's only at idle and very low revs that it seems a bit quiet. The moment you extend it past 2000 RPM, it starts to make quite a bit of a racket, and it's really not what you want in a plush premium SUV like this. Say when you cross a speed breaker like I just did and you're at very low revs, it makes a huge din while it picks up the pace again. Now really, one cannot expect a lot in the way of handling from a big ladder frame SUV like this, so it's really best not to keep your expectations too high. It's got a heavy steering that's quite a bit of effort at low to parking speeds. It does weigh up well when you go faster, but it still doesn't offer you a whole lot of confidence. That's because it suffers from steering shock, and that means it goes through bumps and potholes and shakes around and shimmies in your hand. so it never really gives you a secure feeling when you're going around corners or over rough roads. As expected, there is a lot of body roll around corners and the tires tend to squeal in protest from all the mass involved. So again, like with the engine and gearbox, it's best not to drive this car in a hurry. Though it's a big, tough SUV, here in India it's more likely to be chauffeur-driven or used as a family car. So it's important to know what the experience is like from the middle row as well. Now actually one of the big selling points of this car should be the middle row seat, and that's because it's so spacious and comfortable. The seat itself is really plush and well cushioned. I've got decent thigh support, nice back support, and look at the amount of legroom. Jay, who's driving, is well over 6 feet tall and I've still got plenty of space here. Headroom of course is plentiful and the windows are really big for a nice view out. There are AC vents in the roof and I can even recline the backrest quite a bit if I want to. But what's sure to be a treat for people who like traveling long distances is this roof-mounted screen. It's a 10-inch screen that plays movies, I believe, via DVD from the front, and that's sure to keep your kids and family members entertained in the backseat. Now the MU-X's suspension has been set up very soft, and while that means at low speeds you get this lovely pillowy ride that just steamrolls over just about everything, the moment you pick up the pace even slightly, you start to get jiggled and tossed about in the back seat. What's more, if you go through a big sharp bump, it really thuds through hard and you will get rocked about wherever you sit. So as with the engine and the gearbox, it's best to drive this car at a very measured pace if you want to get the most comfortable experience out of it. Thanks to its high ground clearance, good approach and departure angles, chunky tires and simple but robust 4x4 system with low range, the MU-X is quite superb off-road. It handled these dirt tracks without flinching, and even when we later took it for a serious rock crawl, it did so with little fuss. So yes, if you're one of the few that uses their SUV off-road, the big Isuzu will not disappoint. Now before we go any further, I need to tell you about the MU-X's price. It costs 23.9 lakh rupees ex-showroom for the 4x2 version and 25.9 lakh rupees for this 4x4, and that is considerably cheaper than any of the competition. What you get for your money is a big, rugged off-roader that can take you anywhere, that's packed with 7 leather-wrapped seats and pretty much all the creature comforts you could ask for. Yes, it does feel a bit behind the more modern competition in a few areas, but you have to admit that for the money, it packs in just about everything you could ask for from your big family SUV.